Community Development Block Grant, Disaster Recovery, and Mitigation Programs. In this pre-bid meeting, we are going to discuss the invitation for bids number CDBG-DR IFP 2025-01 for the PV systems water storage system design, acquisition, and installation services for the CEURI programs under the Community Development Block Grant for Disaster Recovery, among other federally funded initiatives. First, I would like to introduce the Puerto Rico Department of Housing personnel that is with me. Along with me are Karen Canales Virriel, Procurement Official, Catherine Chacon Ramirez, Procurement Official, Luis Santiago Ocasio, Technical Specialist, Glorian Rodriguez Ortiz from the CEURI program, and Joseph Rosales Rodriguez from the Federal Compliance Division. Any information provided in this meeting does not change the terms and conditions established in the invitation for bid instructions. The meeting will be recorded and available on the CDBG-DR YouTube channel. Regarding to the procurement manual and contractual requirements, all procurement process shall be conducted in accordance with the terms and conditions established in the procurement manual for the CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT programs to guarantee full and open competition and fair treatment for all persons or entities involved in each procurement process. The procurement manual is available on the CDBG-DR website as seen on the screen, incorporated by reference, and made an integral part of this invitation for bids. Now, we have a presentation from Glorian Rodriguez Ortiz from the CEURI program for an explanation of the scope of services. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just to make sure that you can see. Thank you for coming for today. I'm presenting the IFB 2025-01 for PV systems, water storage system, design, acquisition, and installation services. General description. The program, also known as CEURI, the Community Energy and Water Resilience Installation Program, provides homeowners, businesses, and on our public facility energy and water efficient improvements to promote resilience with the installation of PV system with battery backup for critical loads and water storage system. The CEURI program provides assistance to homeowners that receive assistance under the Home Repair, Reconstruction, or Relocation R3 under the CDBG-DR grant. Project type: single-family units. The CEURI program provides the following: the PV system with battery backup for the energy resilience installation. Sorry, hold on. The photovoltaic system with battery backup will allow eligible applicants the ability to run critical loads, some household appliances, life support devices, and permit for shelter-in-place options during outages. Also, the water storage system. For water resilience installations, the water storage system will provide households with the ability to store water to be used when there is an interruption in the water service. Program structure, roles, and responsibilities. We have the PM, who's the General Program Management and Administration, who completes applications and pre-installation, the assessment review, scope of work review, and program award coordination. And they do the final inspection, payment request, and closeout. Then we have the installers, also known as the AIS. Installation and acquisition of PV, their roles and responsibilities are the installation and acquisition of the PV system and backup and water storage system, conduct and perform pre-installation, assessment, visit, and documentation. They will do a performing commissioning test, assist with the PMs during final inspection, and orientation and training to the applicants. The scope of work. The scope of work, PRDOH is issuing this IFB to provide the PV system and water storage system design, acquisition, and installation service, and serve the program as a contractor, single source responsibility entity. The selected bidder or bidders are expected to assess and propose solution for the implementation and installation of the PVS, battery storage system, and the water storage system for each participating property. PRDOH anticipates awarding contracts for initial term of 3 years. PRDOH may, in its sole discretion, extend the contract term up to 2 years. Additional option upon mutual agreement. One or more qualified bidders may be contracted as a result of this IFB. Scope of work. General requirements. The bidder selected to provide services regarding the photovoltaic system must have a minimum of 5 years of experience within the renewable energy sector. The selected bidder selected to provide services regarding the water storage system must have a minimum of 2 years of experience in installation of the water storage system. The selected bidder offering services for both shall satisfy both conditions above. All equipment must be supplied and installed by selected bidders, shall be new, no reconditioned, refurbished, or otherwise used parts or components will be accepted. All technical support or any warranty service from the manufacturer shall be generated and managed by the selected bidder once contracted by the PRDOH. Code compliances requirements. Installation and equipment shall comply with applicable building, mechanical, fire, seismic, structural, and electric codes, including the joint regulation for the evaluation and grant of permits related to developments, land use, and business operations. As amended, bidders must abide by the joint regulation as amended, regulation number 7796 and regulation number 8080, and any other state regulation that regulates the installers within the program. The selected bidder or bidders must install solar system equipment in compliance with the Puerto Rico Residential Code 2018, also known as the PRRC, the National Electric Code, also known as NEC, Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, PREPA, and Permit Management Office, OPE, for its Spanish acronym regulations. Tasks and services. There'll be a pre-installation assessment. The installer shall be responsible for the pre-installation assessment of each project site where installations will be performed. Then they will do design services, which include project planning, preliminary design, construction drawings, and specifications. Then there is an award visit where they'll be given an orientation to the applicants of the offered measures, a clarification of the questions regarding the scope of work, and there will be a grant execution. Next would be permits. Must obtain all requirement permits and licenses for the project. Following system installations and testing. This might include abatement, demolition, and construction, third-party inspection services, interconnection, commissioning, orientation, and system training. Additional services. Due to unforeseen conditions for the contractor to deliver in a complete and thorough design, additional services may be covered in the allowance. And then finally, there'll be an administrative closeout, which is the project closeout and reporting. Technical specifications for the PV system. The program offers standard packages for the PV system and battery storage based on the following 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, for dwelling units where the Energy Star refrigerator is present, the following package will be installed. A standard package of a required system with a minimum of 3 kilowatts DC1 PV module with a battery bank voltage of 48 volt and a required battery bank output of a minimum of 9 kilowatts per hour with an autonomy of 20 hours. Loads and also include one medical life support device. The required battery chemistry is lithium ion. Scenario 2. For dwelling units where a non-Energy Star refrigerator is present, the following package will be installed. A standard package of a required system minimum of 4.3 kilowatts DC PV modules with a battery bank voltage of 48 volt and a required battery bank output of a minimum of 12 kilowatts per hour. With an autonomy of 20 hours. Loads also include one medical life support device. The required battery chemistry is lithium ion. Terms and conditions. The following terms and conditions establish the expectations governing the project and the responsibility of the selected bidder or bidders in the event of any deviation from the standards or guidelines. The selected bidders shall bear full responsibility for all resulting costs and liabilities. This includes interpretation of the scope of work, existing conditions, installation schedule, communication, change orders, and scope of work modifications. Final acceptance. Cost form. This is a example of the cost form where you can see you specify the PV system and the water storage system. Notes on the total bid cost. The total bid cost represents the potential total cost for the equipment and services requested for all PV system, water storage system design, acquisition, and installation services. Allowance costs will be awarded on a case-by-case basis with approval from PRDOH. PRDOH aims to contract at its discretion and is the best interest of the overall program implementation, one or more bidders. Based on the number of bidders finally awarded through this IFB, contracts may be signed to manage quantity of systems and or allowances lower than those considered in the cost form. PRDOH will reserve the discretion to amend contracts of awarded bidder or bidders to include additional amounts of systems and or allowances based on performance metrics. The allowance may be divided among all selected bidders in the instance that PRDOH determines that it is in the best interest of the implementation and administration of the program. Access to allowance funds require prior authorization from the PRDOH or its representative as explained in the scope of work. Notes on cost proposal. All equipment to be submitted with the bid must comply with the specifications included in the scope of work. Bidders shall submit technical specification documentation for all equipment offered as part of the bid. All equipment offered as part of the bid is subject to warranty conditions set forth in the scope of work. Bids which do not contain pricing for every item requested will be considered unresponsive by the PRDOH. Pricing must include all services associated with the PV system, water storage system design, acquisition, and installation services include in the scope of work. Pricing must include all expenses, including incidental taxes, handling and delivering costs, as well as any other administrative costs associated with the goods and services. PRDOH will not consider any additional costs. Only the unit prices submitted will be taken into consideration. PRDOH will not be responsible for reimbursement or expenses related to the per diem tolls, parts, or labors for equipment under warranty. Bidders shall provide the pricing for water storage system inclusive of a 1.5 horsepower water pump with a pressurized tank and tubing connection as specified in the scope of work. The continuation of cost proposals. Estimated quantities for the PV system, capacities, battery storage, and water storage subtotal represents the estimated quantities per system in the cost form. Should not be interpreted as a cap on the allowed quantities per system. Estimated PV systems, water storage system design, acquisition, and installation service subtotals represent the estimated subtotals per system in the cost form. These amounts should not be interpreted as a cap on the allowed quantities. The aggregate total cost amount to be invoiced for PV system, water storage system design, acquisition, and installation services should not exceed the amount established as the total bid cost. Therefore, there could be instances when the estimated quantities indicated in the cost form vary according to the program needs, as long as the selected bidder does not invoice an amount greater than the one established as the total bid cost. Unforeseen conditions, as described in the scope of work, may require selected bidder to perform one or more of the following subtasks, but not limited to, which will be reimbursed from the allowances at the unit's cost specified below. New exposed branch circuit installation will be 2,730. Meter base grounding, 5 stem, 1,390. Panel board grounding system, $2,081. My presentation is complete. If you have any questions, please submit in writing per the IFB instructions. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Good afternoon. My name is Luis Santiago, and I will be discussing the acquisition of the IFB documents, the important dates for this IFB, and the submission of inquiries and addenda. Regarding the IFB documents acquisition, the IFB documents are currently available for download on the CDBG-DR website as presented on the screen. Regarding the important dates for this IFB, these are the following. For submission of questions and requests for clarifications, bidders will have until October 9, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. The responses to questions and the requests for clarifications will be available on October 17, 2025. The bid due date will be on November 4, 2025 at 12 p.m. at Atlantic Standard Time. The request for invitations to participate in the virtual public bid opening will be made through email, and bidders will have until November 4, 2025 at 2 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. The virtual public bid opening will be on November 4, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. Regarding the submission of inquiries and addenda, all bidders must submit all inquiries through the form for submissions of inquiries, attachment 3 of the IFB, and send them to the CDBG-DR MITS Procurement Division email address on or before October 9, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. Responses to all bidder questions will be provided through an addendum and will be posted on the CDBG-DR website. All documents related to this acquisition process, including the addenda issued by the Puerto Rico Department of Housing, are and will be available for download on the CDBG-DR website. All bidders are responsible for monitoring the CDBG-DR website for any issued addenda in this IFB.
Thank you, Luis. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Karen Canales, and I will be discussing how to submit the bids, the virtual bid opening, and the evaluation criteria for this IFB. Bids must be submitted by the due date indicated in the schedule provided in Section 4.3 of the IFB instructions. Late submissions will not be accepted under any circumstances. Bidders must submit their responses in a sealed envelope clearly labeled with the bidder's name, contact information, and the IFB number at the center of the envelope. The envelope must contain all documents required under Exhibit A, bid checklist. The sealed envelope must include the following original printed documents: Exhibit A, bid checklist; Exhibit B, statement of the bidder; Exhibit C, certifications; Exhibit E, cost form. Additionally, bidders must provide an electronic copy of their bid and a redacted copy in PDF format, both saved on a universal serial bus USB flash drive. If you wish to attend the virtual bid opening, you must send an email to the CDBG-DR MIT Procurement Division's email address no later than November 4, 2025, on or before 2 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. There will be no award announcement during the bid opening. Regarding the evaluation criteria for this IFB, the information is as follows. Mandatory requirements. This IFB establishes a set of mandatory requirements which will be rated as pass or fail. Failure to comply with the mandatory requirements of this IFB will result in the disqualification of the bidder. For further details about these mandatory requirements, bidders are instructed to refer to Section 6 of the IFB instructions. As an example, some of these requirements include submission of bids, November 4, 2025 by 12 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. Bidder identification, which is legal name, establishment date, employer identification number, among others. Capacity to provide the services, organizational documents, financial requirements. The financial stability of the bidders will be evaluated according to Section 6.8 of the IFB instructions. Important, you must submit all required financial information for your bid to be considered. Certifications, scope of work requirements, among others. The information submitted will allow for a rating of pass or fail following an evaluation process by the PRDOH. The cost for the goods and services requested in this IFB will be submitted by the bidders using Exhibit E, cost form.
Thank you, Karen. Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Chacon, and next I will explain the bid evaluation, selection and award, and the system for award management registration requirements. Regarding the bid evaluation, after the bid opening, the CDBG-DR MIT Procurement Division will evaluate each bid based on the mandatory requirements explained in Section 6 and 7 of the instructions. The evaluation of the mandatory requirements will determine the responsible and responsive bidders who are capable of fulfilling the required goods and services. If a bidder is deemed responsible and responsive, the cost form will then be evaluated. The Procurement Division will also evaluate the service specifications submitted by the bidders in their bids to ensure they comply with the specifications established in the scope of work. This evaluation, at the discretion of the Procurement Division of the Department of Housing, may be conducted by the user area within the Department of Housing that requested this procurement process. In regards to the selection and award, if the bid is awarded, it will be granted to the responsible bidder who submits the responsive bid with the lowest cost. The award will be made solely based on fair and reasonable prices. The CDBG-DR MIT Procurement Division will recommend the award to the PRDOH bid board. The bid award will be issued by this same board. The PRDOH reserves the right to award contracts to multiple bidders under this solicitation. The number of awards will be determined based on the evaluation of bids and the PRDOH needs. Bidders should submit their bids with this understanding. Regarding SAM registration, bidders and first-tier subcontractors must be registered in the System for Award Management, also known as SAM, at the time of the proposal submission or initiate the registration process right after the proposal submission. For more information, please visit the SAM website. There is no fee to create, renew, or update your registration. Awards will only be issued to entities that are cleared and not ineligible for award of a contract due to suspension, debarment, or HUD-imposed limited denial of participation. Now we will leave you with Joseph Rosales from the Federal Compliance Division, who will explain the federal compliance requirements.
Thank you, Catherine. Let me know if you can see my screen. Right here, perfect. So, hello everyone. My name is Joseph Rosales, and thank you for joining us today. This presentation has been prepared in English. However, if a Spanish version is required, please you can submit a request following the procurement protocols. On behalf of the Federal Compliance and Subrecipient Management Team from the Puerto Rico Department of Housing, we will be presenting on compliance and labor standards requirements. Today's agenda includes an overview of compliance roles and responsibilities, a review of the tools available on our website, and a discussion on documenting efforts and reporting requirements. The procurement package includes language that provides preference to proponents certified as Section 3 businesses or as minority or women-owned businesses. Please remember to consult the references and templates available. Proponents seeking to obtain preference must submit their self-certifications along with evidence demonstrating how they qualified as a Section 3 business. The Puerto Rico Department of Housing provides a template on its website. Proponents seeking MWBE preference must submit a copy of their certification and demonstrate their status. Submitted certificates must include the issuance and expiration dates, and also must indicate that they are currently active. The work to be performed under the contract resulting from this RFP may be subject to the requirements of Section 3 of the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968, as amended. Section 3 is intended to foster local economic development, strengthen neighborhood economies, and support individual self-sufficiency. It is the policy of PRDOH to require its subrecipients, contractors, subcontractors, and the subcontractors of subrecipients to provide, to the greatest extent feasible, training and equal employment opportunities to low and very low income individuals, particularly to recipients of government housing assistance and residents of the communities where federal funds are expended. PRDOH provides a Section 3 policy guide and it's on its website in both English and Spanish. Contractors are required to review the guide and implement the applicable activities as necessary. In addition, contractors are responsible for ensuring that their subcontractors comply with the policy and that established benchmarks are met. For Section 3 projects, 24 CFR 75 establishes the following benchmarks. 25% of total labor hours on the project should be performed by Section 3 workers, while 5% of the total labor hours should be performed by targeted Section 3 workers. Section 3 plan. This document templates enables contractors and subrecipients to outline their strategies for achieving Section 3 hiring, training, and contracting goals. A Section 3 contractor plan template is available on the PRDOH website in both English and Spanish. This tool assists in identifying new hiring and subcontracting needs, planning outreach efforts, and supporting coordinators in managing daily activities. Additionally, it helps define compliance procedures and provides guidance on reporting requirements. Section 3 Worker and Targeted Worker Self-Certification Form. This is the document template that helps individuals identify if they meet the requirements to be considered a Section 3 worker or targeted worker. Contractors and subrecipients must make efforts to complete self-certification forms as part of their contracting and purchasing procedures, thereby fulfilling their Section 3 business identification commitment. Businesses identified as Section 3 will be included in the database used to disseminate contracting and purchasing opportunities. The work to be performed under the contract resulting from this RFP shall be subject to the regulations set forth in the CFR 200.321. This regulation requires the non-federal entity to take necessary steps to ensure that, when possible, all subrecipients, contractors, subcontractors, and/or developers funded with CDBG-DR or CDBG-MID funds hire or provide economic opportunities to small and minority firms, women-owned businesses, enterprises, and labor surplus area firms. Consistent with Executive Orders 11-625, 12-138, and 12-432, non-federal entities shall make every feasible effort to ensure that small businesses, minority or women-owned businesses, enterprises, and labor surplus area businesses participating in contracting. PRDOH provides an MWBE policy guide on its website in both English and Spanish. Contractors are required to review the guide and implement the applicable activities as necessary. In addition, contractors are responsible for ensuring that their subcontractors comply with the regulation that established benchmarks are met. The MWBE policy guide will identify that there are goals which apply to professional services, purchasing supplies, and construction contracting. There is a total minimum participation goal, which are 10% for women-owned businesses and 10% for minority-owned businesses. Contractors are expected to perform good faith efforts for contracting, subcontracting, and purchasing opportunities over $10,000 or more during the life of the contract. A MWBE utilization plan. This tool assists in compiling data from subcontracting purposes. It helps you identify potential needs. It supports discussion on creating supplier and contractor listings, while also building awareness of contract goals and utilization tracking. The plan template is available in our website and can be completed in English and or Spanish. A minority business enterprise is defined as a business that is 51% or more owned, operated, and controlled on a daily basis by one or more U.S. citizens or ethnic minority and or gender, including military classifications and or veterans. While a woman-owned business enterprise is defined as a business that is at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women, must be U.S. citizens or legal resident aliens whose business formation and principal place of business are in the U.S. or its territories, and whose management and daily operation are controlled by women. When we talk about certified minority or women-owned businesses, we are referring to those who have filed applications with federal entities such as SBA and others that you see here on the slide. Businesses who are certified can provide proof of completing an application process to be officially recognized as a certified minority or woman-owned business. If you are registered as a MWBE, you should provide your valid certificate or other evidence in response to this RFP. As part of its obligation to PRDOH, the contractor or subrecipient must conduct compliance efforts during the term of the agreement or contract, which are reported using the quarterly report and the template to document efforts. Each organization is responsible for maintaining and preserving documents in accordance with its policy on document management, administration, and accessibility. Now let's talk about the template to document efforts. The objective of this document is to facilitate the compilation of all arrangements and procedures related to Section 3 and MWBE as applicable. These efforts are carried out by subrecipients and contractors each quarter. PRDOH has established a quarterly report available on the website for subrecipients and contractors to download, complete, and submit. This form serves as the official method for reporting quarterly compliance activities and efforts related to Section 3, MWBE, and FHEO regulations. All subrecipients and contractors are expected to maintain a system for collecting up-to-date information to complete this report accurately. PRDOH quarterly reports captures Section 3 data from the 24 CFR 135, 24 CFR 75, and efforts performed. The MWBE data for contracting MWBEs, contracting MBEs, and efforts performed as well, and the FHEO data for limited English proficiency and compliance with Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. PRDOH requires also a quarterly reports from all contractors to be submitted on April 5th, July 5th, October 5th, and January 5th. Regarding FHEO, your RFP package also includes a model contract, which outlines the areas of compliance related to fair housing and equal opportunity. Contractors are responsible for ensuring compliance with federal civil rights and fair housing requirements throughout their own operations, as well as those of their subcontractors and partners, making certain that all necessary efforts are being implemented. The Fair Housing Act and Sections 109 and 504 prohibits discrimination against protected classes. The Fair Housing Act is a key component of federal civil rights law enacted to prevent discrimination in housing. A variety of executive orders, laws, and statutes govern a non-discrimination against protected classes, ensuring equal opportunity for individuals in accessing federally funded programs. Equal opportunity for protected classes is upheld through these federal laws and executive orders as well. PRDOH has published policy documents addressing FHEO, as well as language access plan for all CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT programs, and has made it available in both English and Spanish. These policies must be implemented by contractors and subrecipients. As a recipient of HUD financial assistance, PRDOH must ensure that all programs affirmatively further access to fair housing and that the programs provide equal opportunity for participation and employment. Reasonable accommodations are adjustments to a program policy, practice, or service that afford individuals with disabilities equal access to the program's benefits. Section 504 requires federally funded programs provide requested RARMs at the cost of the programs to the extent that they are reasonable and address a verified disability-related need. Contractors that have 15 employees or more are required to have a 504 coordinator. The CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT reasonable accommodation policy provides requirements and guidance for evaluating these requests. PRDOH also supports program in the handling and evaluation of these requests. The limit English proficiency refers to persons' limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English. Due to Puerto Rico's high Spanish-speaking population, all entities and contractors using the CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT funding must seek to ensure both that a person's limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English or Spanish will not place them at a disadvantage in the participation of a programs. Construction projects funded with CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT must adhere to OSHA and PR-OSHA regulations to ensure worker safety in accordance with 29 CFR 1926. The PRDOH, subrecipients, and project contractors are responsible for ensuring that their subcontractors implement OSHA, PR-OSHA, and CDBG-DR or MIT OSH policy requirements. Contractors awarded these contracts are accountable for executing the necessary safety measures, taking corrective actions, and maintaining compliance with OSHA reporting standards. PRDOH provides an OSH policy guide on its website in both English and Spanish. Contractors are required to review and implement the relevant activities as necessary. They are also responsible for ensuring that their subcontractors meet all established benchmarks. First and foremost, subrecipients and contractors must integrate the PRDOH CDBG-DR MIT OSH policy into their operations. This means that every relevant construction project needs to align with these guidelines. Contractors and subrecipients must ensure that these guidelines are not only understood, but are actively applied at every stage of the construction process. The policy outlines specific requirements, especially those tied to OSHA standards like the 29 CFR 1926. By doing this, they help to create a culture of safety on site, reducing the risk of accidents and ensuring that projects run smoothly and safely. Ensuring compliance is another critical responsibility. It's not enough to implement the policy. Subrecipients and contractors must also regularly verify that all OSHA and PRDOH requirements are being met. This means conducting routine inspections and audits to identify any areas where safety standards might be slipping. When non-compliance is detected, it's crucial to act swiftly, implementing corrective actions, measures as well to bring operations back into line. The goal is to prevent safety breaches before they happen, protecting both the workers on site and the integrity of the project. These two responsibilities laid the foundation for a safe, compliant work environment, ensuring that all construction activities meet the required safety standards. Managing subcontractors is another key responsibility. Subrecipients and contractors must ensure that subcontractors are not only informed of the OSH policy, but also actively following it. This involves monitoring subcontractor activities, providing guidance as necessary, and ensuring that all safety benchmarks are met across the board. This involves clear communication of safety expectations, regular monitoring of subcontractors' activities, and ensuring that subcontractors are held to the same safety standards as the primary contractor. Documenting and reporting accurate and throughout documentation is essential for demonstrating compliance with the PRDOH-OSH policy. Subrecipients and contractors are responsible for keeping detailed records of all safety-related activities, inspections, and incidents. This includes maintaining logs of daily safety checks, incident reports, training sessions, and any corrective actions taken. Proper documentation not only helps in meeting regulatory requirements, but also serves as a valuable tool for identifying trends and areas for improvement. Additionally, time reporting is critical. By focusing on effective subcontractor management and diligent documenting and reporting, subrecipients and contractors can better ensure compliance with safety regulations and contribute to the overall success of the project reported to the appropriate authorities and stakeholders as required. Ensuring that all documentation is up to date and readily available is key to maintain transparency and accountability throughout the project. Smartsheets provide a centralized and accessible platform for tracking safety metrics, reporting incidents, and documenting safety practices in real time. This ensures that all safety-related data is consistently recorded, easily accessible for review, and can be swiftly communicated to relevant stakeholders. Proper use of Smartsheets helps maintain transparency, supports timely corrective actions, and facilitates ongoing monitoring to uphold safety standards across all construction projects. Training and education are critical components of the PRDOH CDBG-DR MIT-OSH policy. Subrecipients and contractors must ensure that all workers, including subcontractors, receive appropriate safety training relevant to their roles and responsibilities on the project. This includes initial safety orientations as well as ongoing training sessions to keep workers updated on the latest safety protocols, procedures, and regulations. Training should cover specific OSHA requirements, hazard identification, proper use of personal protective equipment, emergency procedures, and any other relevant safety practices, like preparation of job sites during hurricane season. It is important to ensure that training is accessible to all workers, and this may require providing materials in both English and Spanish, depending on the workforce language needs. Proper training not only helps in preventing accidents and injuries, but also empowers workers to contribute to a safer work environment. Additionally, it reinforces the culture of safety that is vital for the successful completion of the CDBG-DR MIT-funded projects. The monthly OSH roundtable is a key component of our safety strategy. It serves as a vital forum where we can openly discuss any safety concerns, review recent incidents, and share best practices. This regular interaction helps ensure that all contractors and construction managers are on the same page regarding our OSH policies and procedures. By coordinating our efforts, we not only enhance safety compliance, but also create a safer work environment for everyone involved, leading to better project outcomes overall. The Davis-Bacon Act, this act is required, the requirements applies to federally funded or assisted programs that are valued at more than $2,000. Contracts for the following types of work on public buildings or public buildings. Public work also includes construction, alteration and repair, and even painting and decorating. It requires payments of prevailing wages as determined by the Department of Labor. It provides a fair opportunity to compete in building programs funded by the federal government, and it prevents contractors from bidding below an area's prevailing wages. Most construction projects funded with CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT funds must comply with DEBRA requirements to ensure that laborers and mechanics are paid prevailing wages. This includes overtime for the work performed on these federally funded projects. Contractors awarded contracts with these federal funds are responsible for understanding and complying with DEBRA requirements. The Department of Housing and its subrecipients are responsible for oversight. This includes reviewing payroll and other records related to the work performed using these federal funds for construction projects and ensure compliance with the requirements. The Department of Housing has published the Davis-Bacon Policy Guide, which is available in both English and Spanish. The Department of Housing, along with its subrecipients and contractors, must implement and comply with this policy whenever it is applicable. Aware that the use of CDBG-DR MIT funds is monitored by the DOL and HUD, maximum cooperation from all our subrecipients and contractors is required. In this regard, compliance with the Davis-Bacon Act and related acts involves, but is not limited to, cooperating to ensure that PRDOH complies with the Davis-Bacon and Labor Standards Agency and/or Contractor Guide and Contractor Addendum by performing the actions outlined by the federal agency, cooperating to ensure PRDOH complies with the U.S. Department of Housing Handbook by diligently responding to the department's requirements to adhere to this guide. In this presentation, we will also be discussing the applicability of these federal labor standards, the Housing and Community Development Act, 29 CFR 5, Davis-Bacon Act, Fair Housing Labor Standards Act, Contract Work Hours and Safety Standards Act, and Copeland Anti-Kickback Act. The Contract Work Hours and Safety Standards Act, known as QUASA, states that the workers should not work more than 40 hours a week unless they are being compensated overtime, and that projects must comply with certain safety standards. The Copeland Anti-Kickback Act requires that there be payment of wages at least once a week, and it only speaks to permissible payrolls deductions being allowed. The Fair Labor Standards Act, the FLSA, sets the federal minimum wages and additional overtime requirements. The following slides discusses the multiple steps that are found within a construction project. These activities that happen during procurement, during the pre-bid meeting, during a pre-construction meeting, during a contract signing, during on-site interviews, collecting and reviewing certified payrolls, notifying prime contractors, and when the project finishes, producing the project closeout letter. And finally, the ongoing reporting and record keeping. The HUD 4010 form includes various clauses and important language for prime contractors and any subcontractors working on a federally funded project. Contractors must include this form with all subcontracting tiers to ensure compliance with Davis-Bacon and related acts. It is important to note that depending on your role, it may be necessary for you to perform, including but not limited to, the following actions. Submission of complete and mathematically accurate certified payrolls, review of the accuracy of the certified payrolls, conducting field interviews using the federal HUD 11 form, including the HUD 4010 form, vocabulary related to DEBRA compliance, and the applicable wage determination in contracts and subcontracts, notifying construction activity by submitting the HUD 4710 report to the federal agency and a copy to housing through our website, and participating in training provided by the Federal Compliance Division on prevailing wages. That'll be all on my part. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you to everyone for participating in this pre-bid meeting. We appreciate your time. If you have any questions or inquiries, please fill out the form for the submission of inquiries, attachment 3, and send it to the CDBG-DR Mid Procurement Division email as seen on the screen. We wish you a great day. Thank you.